Brian Windhorst joins us. How are you, sir?
How's it going?
Doing well. Hey, some people think or say or believe that Russell Westbrook's last 57 triple-double last night won him the MVP. You don't think that, do you, Brian?
I don't. I actually think that James Harden's going to win it, and I don't think it's going to be that close. Now, keep in mind, we haven't had a close MVP vote in like 17 years. 12 years. We haven't even had more than 3 guys get first-place votes, I think, in 5 years. So this is it's a good thing for the NBA. It means that the league is healthy. I could see up to 6 guys getting first-place votes. Westbrook has been absolutely sensational. There's no doubt in probably 85% of the seasons in NBA history, he probably would win MVP. I just don't know if the circumstances are right for him. And, just as a reminder, back in 61, 62, before I was around, when Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double, he finished 3rd that year in the MVP voting. Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 points and 25 rebounds that year, and he finished 2nd. And Bill Russell won, It was a vote race. He got 3 times as many votes as Oscar Robertson. The reason that Bill Russell won is because his team was the best team.
Right.
And he was the best player on the best team. And, James Harden, he's on the best team, but they have performed so well that is going to – I think that's going to win with the voters. It always has.
And when Ted Williams hit 406, if memory serves, he didn't win the MVP either. But you don't think it's going to be close. So, Brian, hold on.
Definition of close.
Well, is this whole thing then, if you think Harden wins and it isn't, in your words, close, and I realize it's all perspective here, is this more embrace debate or an actual race?
No, I think it's cool that it's a conversation. Last year the conversation was, is Steph Curry going to be unanimous? The answer was yes. The last MVP LeBron won, he got all but 1 MVP vote. There's been some lopsided races. I guess by the definition of how the last decade's gone, it will be close. But I don't think it's going to come, I think some people are saying that maybe they should split the MVP, et cetera, co-MVP. I don't think it's going to be close enough for you to consider them like co-MVP.
Brian Windhorst, ESPN, joins us. Andrew Siciliano sitting in for Rich Eisen today on the Rich Eisen Show. Brian, do you care if a guy takes a day off when it comes to MVP balloting?
I don't. The reason there's a couple of reasons why the rest issue is all of a sudden becoming huge. One is that teams are not resting one player; they're resting 2 or 3 players at a time. That's a new phenomenon, and I understand why they do it, because why rest one guy in 3 straight games so you could rest 3 guys in 1 game? Why weaken yourself 3 games? That's a new thing. Secondly, the stars are clustered together, and there's fewer premium games. The Warriors only played the Spurs 3 times. So if they punt on one of those games, it's a real blow. The Cavs only played the Spurs twice, so they punt on one of those games, it's a real blow. It's not just the fact that players are resting. Just saying players are resting is causing the issue is not seeing the whole 360-degree issue.
Do the players – is it really an issue for them? Is there really that much acrimony or that much talk on planes and locker rooms, hey, did you hear that so-and-so took a day off?
I do think there are some players that it's their personal opinion that, you show up and you play every game. But I also think that is a little bit of old school style of thinking. There's a lot of players in this league that use wearable technology that, you're not technically allowed to wear it during games. Some players actually do wear it during games. They just hide it. But they wear it during practices. They're aware of all their body metrics and biometrics, and they're aware when they're a little bit more tired. And, they listen to their trainers when they say, hey, listen, today I don't want you taking extra shooting practice afterwards. There's guys who are very cognizant of protecting their knees and their ankles and their hips and trying to make sure they can walk when they're 50, much less play games in the playoffs. And there's other guys who are like, listen, I was raised to play every game. I play every game. And I don't think either of them can say one way or the other, but I definitely believe that it's probably, as we go along, it's going to be more of the sports science than it is going to be just spit on it and play.
Brian Windhorst from ESPN with us here, 11 past the hour on the Rich Eisen Show. Brian, I don't care if talking heads are worried that the Cavaliers have lost 4 out of 6 and they've only beaten the Bobcats and the Lakers, but I'm more concerned with if the Cavaliers are worried. You know that team well. Are they legitimately concerned from what you understand?
Well, they haven't beaten the Bobcats in years, Andrew. The Bobcats have been gone, but that's okay.
I'm sorry, Charlotte. It's an old mental block. Yes.
I'm just having fun.
It's good. Please do.
I couldn't last a 5-second conversation on the NFL. So I'm just, I think there was this perception that it probably existed even within the Cavs that it was just a matter of flipping the switch. Just when the games matter, we'll change our demeanor. And I think they've realized that that's not the case. That it's way more complicated what they're dealing with than a focus or a fatigue issue. They have continuity problems. They are absolutely terrible defensively right now. And they really haven't been able to develop any sort of cohesion because they have all kinds of issues with players in and out of the lineup. They have some guys who haven't played enough, some guys who've played too much. So it's more complex than just saying, oh, they'll be fine. But at the same time, there's no issue that they have been faced with that I don't think they can overcome, at least in the East. I think any team would have a tall order staring across at the Warriors in 4 out of 7 right now. But I said the same thing a year ago. So this is 15 years I've been covering the NBA, and I've just learned that if you start making declarations in March, they don't mean anything come May. They just don't. And they sure don't mean anything come June. So I do know that LeBron has won, 24 consecutive playoff series in the Eastern Conference. So I feel like he's not losing sleep, but at the same time, there are more issues there than just saying it's laziness.
And on the flip side of that, the Warriors are saying that Durant's going to be back for the playoffs. But what Kevin Durant, Brian, are they getting when he comes back?
By the way, I want to correct myself. 18 consecutive series.
18.
24.
You got it.
Sorry.
You got it.
Durant, okay, so he looks really, really good. I mean, the Warriors, made it public yesterday with a announcement. But anybody who's been around the Warriors, like in the last 2 weeks, who's seen Kevin practice, they will tell you he looks great, and they're very excited. But I will just say that MCL injuries, and you have to generalize here because it's not my knee, it's Kevin Durant's knee. Only he really knows. MCL injuries are good and bad. They're good in that they're easier to recover from. You're obviously a lot better off if you have a slightly torn MCL, which is what he had, as opposed to a slightly torn ACL, for example. The thing about it is that it restricts your knee stability for months. So his knee, regardless of how good he looks, his knee is probably, based on the history of MCL injuries, is probably not going to be the same, probably for the rest of the season. It certainly wasn't with Steph Curry. He had a MCL injury in the playoffs last year, and obviously by the finals he wasn't quite the same player. So that's kind of the bad news. The good news is they don't need him to score 38 a night. You look at how they're playing, they have now taken over as the number one defensive team in the league. They're the number one offensive team in the league. No team has been number one in both at the end of the season since the 95-96 Bulls. And maybe they'll slip to 2 in defense or whatever, but this team, from a statistical standpoint, is just as dominant as last year's team was without Durant for a huge portion of the season. So they're going to be very, very potent, and while I expect them to have a little hiccup or two when they factor Durant back in, if you're going to beat them 4 out of 7 times, you're going to have to be playing a hell of a good basketball, or they're going to have a lot more injuries.
Brian, Chris Brockman says in my ear that we have to ask you today's poll question, which you may find ridiculous, but we're going to ask it regardless. And this came up with the whole Russian dressing thing a couple of days ago with Sean Spicer, and I said that I hate Russian dressing because it has mayo. And the poll question is simply, Brian, mayo, good or bad?
I don't eat anything with mayo in it.
God bless you, Brian Windhorst.
I couldn't figure out for years, because I like honey and I like mustard, but I've never liked honey mustard.
Because they added mayo.
And I didn't know why. I thought it was a weird thing in life. Mm-hmm. And recently my wife made homemade honey mustard just for the hell of it. And she made the ingredients and she put mayo in it. And I go, oh, that's why I don't like it.
Yep. Educating America.
Just a personal thing.
Brian, we're educating America as to the scourge that is mayonnaise. So thanks for taking part. Thanks for casting your vote.
Everybody has their own taste. Just my own personal.
Sure.
I'm against it.
And Brian, I respect people's rights to be wrong. That's fine. That's fine. Brian Windhorst from ESPN, who never stops working. And with that in mind, we greatly appreciate, Brian, the fact that you took a couple of minutes to jump on with us.
Take care, guys.
You got it. Brian Windhorst, everybody.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.